Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Look around the room. Once again, when a resident does a presentation, we have the biggest group of people. I was really pleased that Ralph came up to me a couple weeks ago up to the office and suggested that he would be willing to do this program for us, and I knew it would be very, very popular. Probably most first and foremost because it's you, Ralph, and everybody's just here. So give him a little hand. I do believe that's true. So we're very excited to hear about your program, and here's...
Thank you for those kind words. I really think you're here to find out how you pronounce this word. I'll tell you later. I did want to mention that I have an advanced publicity team. These two young people you've seen walking around are my son-in-law, that would be Karen's son. Many of you met her. And that's Elliot Hershon and his fiancée, Munira Bazdemir. And they both are teaching English as a foreign language in China. Oh my. And it just happened these 2 dates. They're here for vacation, so it worked out very well. And I do want to thank Mark and Tricia particularly, and Sue for your kind words. Mark and Tricia for helping me to organize this PowerPoint presentation and this tiny little gadget here. As you know, we've had trouble, but I think this is going to be working all right. Well, you all got 2 napkins, I hope, and I hope one of them is clean, because we're going to start this program with what's called the Chautauqua salute. And if you will open your napkin, I got an extra big one because I'm the speaker. And just shake it out a little. And I would ask you, once you get it open and ready to shake, when I say, let's give the Chautauqua salute. Oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful. From where I stand, that looks like a minor snow flurry. But when there are 1,000, maybe 4,000 to 5,000 people sitting, aha.
He went too far.
I want to go back. Sitting in a crowded amphitheater, getting ready to salute someone, only when the president of Chautauqua Institution asks for it. And you have to be pretty famous to get a Chautauqua salute. But they wave their handkerchiefs, and it just looks like a blizzard, not a flurry as we had here. But this waving ceremony sprang from an on-the-spot inspiration of the first Chautauqua president, John Vincent. In 1887, a deaf mute presented in sign language and pantomime a program of Bible stories. He did them so vividly that the audience just clapped up a storm, and Vincent hopped up and he said, "He can't hear you." And he held out his handkerchief, and they all started their Chautauqua salute. And so it began. It persists still today, always with a white handkerchief as a form of special tribute, though only when called for by the head of Chautauqua in person. Obviously, Thomas Becker, the current president, did not call for that tribute. I did. Out of the gratitude that Chautauqua had on my early life, an impact which enriches me to this day. I hope I can combine my personal, very youthful memories with a historical account of the founding and development of an enterprise which has truly reflected and influenced the cultural history of America. I will include a brief mention of its imitators, whom some of you may have memories stored in your minds about. The original Chautauqua had been in lively existence 54 years before it became my Chautauqua in 1929. And as a homesick 7-year-old, I was sure I didn't want any part of it. My parents had just left for home in Buffalo, New York, 75 miles away. And I was being treated to a 3-week trial vacation with my aunt in the quaint cottage built about 1890, which they had purchased just 2 years earlier. I remember nothing. I remember nothing about that 3-week vacation except that I got Amelia Earhart's autograph when she stepped from the Chautauqua amphitheater platform. Well, I soon learned that my mother and dad and my aunt and uncle had a long-range plan for me. As it turned out, 9 complete summers. My aunt, excuse me, needed help. I don't think that'll help much. My aunt needed help because my uncle worked in Buffalo during the week and she was alone at the cottage. And she thought she needed some companionship, and I could run errands, even a young person. And so I was there for this trial period. The normal season is 8 weeks. Now it has gone to 9 weeks. However, unlike my difficult adjustment the previous summer, I was 8 now, ripe for adventure, and I found it that very first morning. 2 children were busy shifting armfuls of long, sweet-smelling, new-mown grass next to the oiled road near my aunt's cottage. Would I like to help them build a hut? Oh, I would indeed. And from that construction project, we 3, my wife, Ellen, 6 years old, and her brother, Stuart, 5, constructed a lasting relationship. The Lee family, with 6 brothers and sisters, rented a cottage at Chautauqua for 15 years, 15 summers, arriving with trunks and suitcases by rail, trolley car, and lake steamer, 150 miles from Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, near Pittsburgh. They could never have financed this operation on their father's summer professorial salary at Geneva College in Beaver Falls. But Mrs. Lee had a small private kindergarten during the academic year, and she was asked by Chautauqua Department of Religion to demonstrate Sunday school techniques with 50 little kindergartners each week. And the older members of the Lee family had summer jobs right from the start, and so they managed. We lived within shouting distance. My aunt, Mabel Williams' cottage was on a small rise, as was theirs. In between our 2 cottages was a monolithic new structure. Now here we go. I want to backtrack.
This one?
No, it's the second, this should be the second picture.
This
No, the third picture.
This
Okay, it's out of place. We will get to that monolithic new structure in a moment. But anyway, it was called Norton Hall, and it was a memorial to a Chicago woman's widow to her husband. I forget his, Robert Norton, I think. He was president of the American Can Company. Well, Norton Hall was a huge building, but we could still shout to each other and could be heard with her cottage on one side of the hall and mine on the other. It was not so large, and it was dedicated, by the way, to opera and drama. It was not so large as to loom above the many towering hardwood trees, primarily maple and beech, that created the sylvan beauty of Chautauqua. Founded in 1874, Chautauqua Institution is situated on the west side of Chautauqua Lake. Okay. This, by the way, is the Lee Cottage, and that big building was in between our two cottages. There's Norton Hall. And this is Chautauqua Lake. It is 10 miles southwest from a little town called Westfield, New York, on Lake Erie. And it is just about 12 miles from the Pennsylvania border. So it's the far part of northern New York State. The elevation is very interesting. Lake Erie is 500 feet above sea level, but Chautauqua Lake is on a high ridge 800 feet above Lake Erie. This height gives the area a wonderfully clear and cooler atmosphere in the summer. Interestingly, the lake does not flow into Lake Erie, but instead it is part of what's called the Mississippi River watershed. The Erie and Seneca Indians had used this 15-mile stretch of spring-fed lake water as part of a trade route south from Lake Erie and the Great Lakes waterways through Chautauqua's overflow into the Chautauqua, Allegheny, Ohio, and eventually Mississippi rivers. The name of the lake was a phonetic attempt on the part of white settlers at imitating an Indian word, so we were told anyway, meaning two moccasins tied together, because there was indeed a northwest bulge 2 miles wide and 8 miles long, and a similar southeast bulge joined by a narrow channel. By the early 19th century, there was a county seat town of Mayville at the north end of the lake and a larger logging and furniture community at the south end of the lake. Jamestown, New York. By the way, Lucille Ball's hometown. 4 miles south of Mayville from the north part of the lake, on the west side, there was a lovely 50-acre grove just waiting for fertilization. That task fell to 2 men who were at one and the same time practical visionaries. I don't know what's wrong.
This one?
There we are. Yes. The lower picture is that of John Vincent, and Lewis Miller was the top picture. They were prominent Methodists in their mid-40s. Vincent was a clergyman, later to become a bishop, with Philadelphia roots, and Miller, a wealthy inventor and manufacturer of farm mowing equipment and threshing machines from Akron, Ohio. Their pietistic backgrounds combined with a passion for education led each in his own environment to focus on improving Sunday school instruction. Vincent wrote and edited and published graded teaching materials. Miller was a Sunday school superintendent who recruited secular teachers for his classes, and each of them, and by the way, Miller even designed